TikTok being banned is the modern day equivalent of the Tower of Babel. But instead of God saying we can't have everyone speaking the same language because they're going to build a ladder to heaven, it is Trump and Elon Musk and the government saying we can't have all of these poor and middle class people actually building wealth and potentially becoming our rivals or our equals. This whole thing is so fascinating because nobody ever believed it was about national security or like keeping our data safe because they're stealing our data all the time, like all the time. 1984 has become a reality and it's kind of trippy. But what's exciting for me as someone who asks a lot of questions and is very skeptical is that people are starting to see that we as a society have really been brainwashed by a small amount of people to the point that, like, part of why I read the Bible so many times is because it just didn't make sense. It wasn't cohesive in narrative or structure. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that like a ton of people wrote this book? When I read a book that I'm going to learn from, I research the author. I see, do they have anything to like, why should I listen to this person? What kind of experience do they have? But we don't have that for the authors of the Bible. And having been in organized religion since I was born, I'm like, a lot of people that call themselves godly were really devils. We're really selfish devils. I've been part of too many churches that had like overthrowing of the pastor by the board or some shit like that to believe that every Christian, every holy person has our best interests at heart. And it's so exciting seeing people wake up. And I used to like trip out when I would see people say, like, you're being brainwashed, like, wake up. I was like, those people are crazy. But actually, we have been. We have been. Because we've been brainwashed in thinking that it's a race issue when really it's a class issue. We've been brainwashed into thinking the government are the good guys. We've been brainwashed into thinking America is the good guys, right? I mean, it's really fascinating when you think about it. Because I was wondering, like, okay, so how do we know the character of these people who wrote the Bible? How do we know that they had no ulterior motives, especially when it's a book that has been manipulated and used to cause harm throughout the world? Am I supposed to believe that God actually signs off on this harm? Am I supposed to believe that God would sign off on a person like Donald Trump? The way that the Bible can be so misinterpreted and used for harm, the way the Bible can be used to justify any and everything according to who's reading it, the way that it's so up for interpretation, it really is a fascinating study of how religion is used to control and manipulate people. Because if you think about it, you've got the Christians that think Trump is God without a hint of irony. These people obviously haven't read the Bible, and if they have, they've only read their favorite parts. Because anybody reading the Bible can see, like, oh, you know what? I think this is the beginning of the end. Because I remembered reading very clearly in Revelations, I believe, that the center of power was not America. Center of power is in the Holy Lands, right? And that's where the power is going to go back to. And seeing what a mockery that man has already made America into because y'all fell for him and y'all voted him in a second time. We've given up our power. We've given up any claim to being a superpower, because what do you mean you have a convicted criminal as your president? But back to the Bible. It's just interesting thinking about how much society was built on this one book without people realizing that, hey, King James had a version for a reason. King James did something very similar to Donald Trump in being holy, claiming to be pious. So what did he do? He decided he needed his own translation of the Bible. Why would he need that? Why would he need his own translation of the Bible? Oh, to control people, to get people to do what he wants, but do it from a place of spirituality. That sounds really familiar. That sounds really familiar as to how that whole campaign was run. That sounds so familiar. And to see so many people that I used to go to church with praising President, I'm not going to say it, to see them praising that man when these are some of the same people that would have a 16-year-old girl come up to the front of the church and apologize for getting pregnant as if she got pregnant by herself. But that's your dude though, right? I bet. And don't at me for questioning the validity of the Bible, because if y'all actually believed the Bible, you wouldn't be acting the way that you do. You wouldn't be treating the poor with contempt. You would be trying to help them. You would not be judging women for having shapely bodies and causing men to stumble. The same people accusing women of causing men to stumble should be what? Plucking out your own eye if something causes you to stumble, right? Instead of putting shame on young women for actually having the curves that God gave them, you would be controlling yourselves. If y'all actually believed the Bible, you would not be as hateful as you are. You would not be as greedy as you are. If you actually believe the Bible, people would not have such a bad connotation when you say you're a Christian. Okay, so stop it. Miss me with that, because a lot of y'all haven't even read the Bible. Because if you had, you would remember that the New Testament church gave everything they owned into a pot for the community to use, which y'all would actually call socialism now. Because remember the story of Ananias and Sapphira? I might be pronouncing it wrong, but they were people who kept some of their wealth from the New Testament church. And what happened? God struck them dead. But y'all want to worship a billionaire because y'all think that they're going to remember you and give you some of their wealth. Are you kidding me? The Bible is very clear about not worshiping false gods. Yet some of y'all seem to think Trump is the second coming of Christ. So I don't want to hear your righteous bullshit about how offended you are that I would question the Bible. Y'all don't even believe the Bible. You don't. You don't, because your actions do not line up with it. They will know we're Christians by our love. What about the fruit that we are? I had a pastor who would always talk about, like, what is the fruit? What is the fruit of your life? Some of y'all got some rotten fruit and y'all won't even admit it. So miss me with the surprise, miss me with you being offended that I had the audacity to call shit out, because I'm not saying this from an outsider perspective. I still have my Bibles lined up on my bookshelf, and I have several versions, and I've read all of them, and they are all marked up with notes. And some of y'all haven't even cracked it open. Get the fuck out of here with all of that righteous outrage. I think what we are seeing is that we've all been bamboozled. We have. You know, you've got our politicians saying that they're fighting for our rights, they're protecting us, but, you know, they're protecting us from TikTok, which is dangerous, but most of them are on TikTok. We're seeing that a lot of the promises that man made to you, he's not going to keep. And here's the other thing. It's not like this man has had a great track record of doing what he says he's going to do. It's not like he hasn't been president before. So I don't know why y'all are surprised. Y'all are just embarrassed and shocked that your sexism kept you from voting for the right person. You thought you were doing the right thing. You thought you were voting for the right choice, the holy choice, and you thought that that man who has proven to be a deceitful liar and cheater, you thought he was going to keep his promises to you? Like, where do you do that at? Like, I don't understand. Like, you guys have selective amnesia. You seem to forget what a shit show 2020 was. You seem to forget how so many people were weeping with joy when Biden won because it was such a shit show under Trump. And, you know, when you think about the systems that are set up to oppress, they always present themselves as what's best for you, right? They always try to go to this core of morality. And if you actually take the time to examine what they say, how they're saying it, and why they say it, you just realize it's a power grab. You realize it's a power grab, and that they're not going to do what they say, and that they just want to get in a higher exalted, they want to get into a more exalted position so that they can keep fucking you over. Because look at his cabinet appointments. I mean, to be black in America, especially a black woman, to be a black woman in America is to be constantly gaslit. Constantly gaslit. Because what are you telling me that DEI only promotes people that are unqualified? And then you get like the equivalent of mayonnaise sandwiches lining up to be in his cabinet. Like, these hearings have just been so offensive to see these people being questioned about what their new responsibilities will be. And the fact that they don't know shit, they don't know how to do the job, they don't know what their job will entail, they haven't done any kind of research. It's happening soon. Maybe you should, like, I don't know, start preparing. Because if you're going to be in charge of something important in the government, you should know what the fuck you're doing. But how many people said, oh, you know, I don't know that answer yet because I'm not in office yet? Can you imagine a black woman ever being able to get away with saying that? The mediocrity that is on display is enough to make you want to just. And, you know, I think what's also fascinating is that women, a lot of us don't realize how many of our boyfriends and husbands actually hate women. They don't respect women. The thought of having a woman in a position of leadership over them is so offensive that they'd rather cut off their nose to spite their face. What do you mean you've got undocumented people living in America that when interviewed, they said they would vote for Trump? Are you kidding me? it's It's fascinating. And a lot of you women who are married to men like this, you like to say it's the biblical order of things, right? And because I used to be one of you, I'm going to say this very lovingly. You and I both know that's a bunch of bullshit. And you know that that makes you feel horrible at the end of the day. You know that there are times when you know that these men should not be in charge. You know that there is no way that the man should be the head of the home when he can't even remember if he took his vitamins or where he put his keys. If he doesn't know how to do laundry, what the fuck? Like when we really think about it, it's all a sham. It's all a system to keep certain people in power, right? So you've got the rich people that are all gathering around Donald Trump. Now you've got the tech bros who may not have been a fan of Donald Trump, but once they became billionaires, they got on the Trump train. And then you've got men who are seeking to be like little kings of their own kingdoms that think they have to protect it from women. So not only do they not vote for Hillary or Kamala, they vote for Trump and they pressure you into voting for Trump. They pressure you into voting against your best interests in an effort to just exert one more power play just to make sure that you're not going to do anything crazy like think for yourself. See, we used to look back on women in the 50s and judge them so hard. And I'm talking to Gen X, elder millennials, but a lot of y'all are just like your grandmas. You're just like your grandmas letting your men run you. Yeah, you might be working outside of the home now, but you still let these men tell you what to believe. You're not thinking for yourselves. And that's how we got into this mess. Y'all are some pygmies. You're some pygmies. Plain and simple. You're looking to men to define you because you've believed the lie that they are the ones that should be in charge. Like, have you seen what your houses look like when you go out of town and then you come back and your husband was supposed to watch over things? I was married. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's a shit show for the majority of y'all. To women who are in patriarchal marriages, like my parents have an equal partnership, but I married someone who came from a patriarchally dominated household. So that was never going to work, right? But here's the thing, because I was trying to be a godly woman, I was trying to be submissive. I know that some of y'all are out there and you hate the fact that you had to turn off your brain to stay in that marriage. You had to dim your light and your gifts to make that man feel like he's the head of the household. And you are suffering and you hate the freedom that the rest of us have because we said, you know what? I'm not doing that shit anymore. Y'all call marriages like the one my parents have. And mind you, they've been married 53 years. 53 years. Because why? It's a partnership. Because I know that mama and daddy run the house together and they respect each other. But with the notions of patriarchy that are so evident in the fabric of America, women know that men don't run this shit. Women know that men can't regulate their emotions. Why the fuck else do we have to push down our emotions when daddy's in a bad mood? Why else do men like fly off in a rage because their team lost a game? Like, little boy, are you okay? So miss me with this whole like God then man then woman because it's some bullshit. I have not seen any evidence to prove that a man should be over me. I have seen evidence that I should have a partnership with a man because I like men. And I have seen through my parents' amazing marriage and partnership where they actually like each other. Like my dad actually likes my mom and he respects her intellect and he trusts her judgment. And my mom does the same for my dad. So miss me with all of this patriarchal bullshit. A lot of the themes of patriarchy is just projection because they know they can't do it. And they see that we can. They see that we can hold multiple ideas at the same time. They see that we can actually push down our emotions for later and get shit done. No, men like to blow shit up. Men like to break things. Get the fuck out of here. But yeah, especially women in these marriages to these patriarchal men, y'all know that I'm right. You do. And that's why a lot of you are probably really pissed off. You're probably like stopping. You're probably not going to watch this video to the end because I see you. And it's a shame. If God created all of us, why would he then require you to dim yourself to prop up a man? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And even if you're not in the church, like, how do we know that man was created first? Men can't actually give birth. Men do not have the equipment to give birth. But if you were born with a uterus and ovaries, you have that ability. And even if they don't work properly, like mine didn't, you still were born with the equipment. So why do we think that man was created first? It doesn't even make sense. And I remembered seeing somewhere on this app, I wish I would have flagged it, um, that men had to create the myth of Adam and Eve because they felt bad that they couldn't give birth. I'm just saying, don't get mad at me. I didn't make up the stories. I'm just asking you to ask questions because y'all are falling for some crazy shit. And again, and look, this is why I am happily single until I meet a man who can see me as his equal. And there aren't a lot of y'all out there. I dimmed my light for way too many men who could not even. I dimmed my light for so many men that wish they could measure up to what I bring to the table. And I'm not doing it anymore. And look at how happy, like, and that's why a lot of y'all get mad because you expect women who choose to be single to be miserable. And then you're pissed off to see that we are actually really happy. We're happy. Like, do I wish that someone would come over and blow my back out? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I usually just take a nap or go exercise because I'd rather do that than to deal with all the shit that goes along with a man who doesn't deserve to take up space in my body. And until I meet a man who actually can see what I bring to the table as a strong woman and isn't intimidated by that, I am happily single. Y'all say there's a singleness epidemic and you're looking at women to make the changes. We don't need to make the changes. We done read all the fucking books. We done healed ourselves. And we're so healed that now we see like, y'all, a lot of y'all aren't worth it. So y'all need to do the work. And then we will start dating you again. It's not that hard. You too can be a strong woman who is independent and loving her life. You too can be a strong woman who speaks out, who lives the life she wants to. And this is, you can live the life you want to if you choose to think for yourself. But a lot of y'all don't want to use your brains. A lot of y'all are afraid of what you're going to experience when you actually see that you're smarter than you remembered, that you're more powerful than you remembered. And just like in the movie Wicked, I posted this yesterday. It was a repost. Most of y'all are Glinda. Most of y'all aren't Elphaba. But y'all got to hate on the Elphabas. And we see what it is. You can come join us at any time. You can remember to think for yourself at any time. You can own your power at any time because the gifts God gave you, you should be proud of. You shouldn't be hiding them. God does not, didn't God say don't hide your gifts under, don't hide your light under a bushel? Like, I'm just saying, some of y'all are mad because I choose not to dim my light. Some of y'all are mad because I have the audacity to stand 10 toes down in my truth. And that threatens you. It's not a competition. And yet you continue to believe this lie that men should be in charge. Why would we believe that lie? Why is that lie even a thing? Why do we believe the lie that whiteness is superior and everything else is inferior? Why aren't we questioning that? Is it because you actually believe you're inferior? Listen, if y'all let your poor self-esteem get us into this mess, I'm going to be so pissed. Because you cannot be serious. You have to love yourself. And I think actually, you know what, maybe that is the biggest gag. That's the best evil genius they've come up with because they have managed to convince people of color that white is right. And they've convinced women that men know everything and that men are supposed to be in charge. You've convinced women that men will protect them when video after video after video shows that women protect other women. Men just kind of stand there. So yeah, I'm saying all the things that I want to say because I know when that man pretends to bring TikTok back because of a problem he created, I know I'm not going to be able to say these things. I know that I'm probably going to get kicked off of all of these apps. I have been shadow banned so much. And I remember all these people saying, shadow banning isn't real. Shadow banning isn't real. It's fucking real. You can't look at my videos. You can't look at the quality of my videos and the content in my videos and look at my follower count and not agree that I'm being shadow banned. But it's okay. It's okay because my message is going to get out there. And actually, it's making me pat myself on the shoulder because I'm like, wow, you are threatened by me. And I don't even have that many followers. You are threatened about my power. See, that's the other thing, especially since Big Brother is always watching. They're keeping tabs on people that they think are going to be dangerous. So, of course, they're limiting my reach because I'm making y'all think about things differently. There's some of us that are being hidden because they're threatened by us. They're threatened by us and they gaslight us into believing that it's the quality of our videos, that it's our lack of engagement with other posts. No, it's not that. It's not that at all. So as we move forward, I really want us to remember what we saw happen here on this app. We saw people starting to learn from each other. We saw people have their eyes open to things that they always believed were true. We found people that had felt completely alone in their situation finally find community. And the powers that be can't have that. Think about all the stories about like medieval times when the poor people weren't allowed to learn how to read. They weren't allowed to go to school. They were only allowed to have certain jobs. They were only allowed to enjoy certain things. That is what we are getting back to. That is what they want. They don't want a bunch of people finding their way up to the upper middle class and the wealthy class. They don't want that. Because then how could they get us to take their shitty jobs for like $2 an hour? See, this whole bootstrap thing, this bootstraps mentality is a lie. Because what we saw on this app is a ton of people starting to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, starting to make money, starting to make enough money so that they could leave their dead end jobs, so that they could actually start to enjoy their lives. But this is another example of the wealthy believing that other people should not be able to enjoy their lives. Think about it. When everybody was working from home and being more productive than they were in the office, the bosses were like, ooh, we can't have that. Only I'm allowed to work from home. That's a privilege that I got because of my position. And yes, people say, oh no, it's real estate, blah, blah, blah. You would be saving more money if you didn't have to lease office space. But you've got the people that own the real estate that put the pressure on the business owners to honor their leases. Because if you really thought about it, yeah, it's actually going to save you money if everyone's working from home. And if they're more productive, why would we say come back into work? That doesn't make sense. So y'all got played because of your sexism and racism. And the rest of us are going to have to suffer. But I saw another creator say that Black American women are going to be fine, and we will. Because this is our lives. You know, this is what we have had to deal with. We always knew that we were the ones running this shit. We always knew that our power was the thing that scares people the most. The projection, the jealousy, that we can still find joy, that we can still be fierce, no matter what they try to put on us. We still continue to rise and alchemize the shit into gold. And y'all can never do that as long as you are hateful. As long as y'all are still buying into the lie that you are superior because of your ethnic background or because of your sexual identity. But it's a lie, and y'all know that shit. That's why you have to try and keep us down. But now that y'all are going to be down here with us, don't come to us asking us for help. Mm-mm. You made your fucking bed, you're going to lie in it. You know, now, if y'all choose to actually remember that you do have a voice, that you do have power, see, that's the other thing that a lot of y'all don't realize. Y'all get hit once and you just lay in bed like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, somebody come help me. Because you have believed these lies that these rich white people tell you. Like, it's all made up. It is all made up. Remember, the colonizers that came to this land were criminals. They were not England's best. They literally enslaved other humans because they were too lazy to do their own work. So why would we think that our founding fathers were so great? Oh, a PR campaign. A PR campaign. They realized that they needed to shift the narrative away from the fact that they were all criminals who basically got kicked out of England. And they had to reinvent themselves. And that is what keeps happening in America. You've got these people at the top continuing to spin this narrative. And when you just automatically believe it without actually examining, like, is this true? Does this make sense? Like, I saw a video earlier where people were upset to find out that a lot of the influencers were lying about the products they use. They felt hurt. Now, come on, y'all. Y'all think that these people who have to post a video within a certain amount of days giving a review of a product, you think they use that shit after they film the video? Because how can I actually tell you if something really works if I have to film a video within like 7 to 14 days? I need a full month to see if it actually works. But the guidelines make it so that you do have to have a quick turnaround. So yeah, it's acting. It's kind of like how when reality TV came out during the writer's strike, they were like, well, it's fine because it's not acting. Those people are acting. They have storylines. They're actually really friends off camera, but they're telling a story. They are acting. So it was just another way to get around paying writers what they really deserved. You see how they did that? It's the oldest trick in the book. It's the oldest trick in the book. So I am official Zakiya Young on all platforms. I'm not on X. I refuse to give that colonizer any of my time. I refuse to do it. But find me on YouTube. That's where you're going to see more of this content. It has been a pleasure to meet and interact with a lot of you. And there's a video that I reposted on my stories where a woman who is in a lot of technology threads, she was saying to put your profile on private at the end of the night so that hackers won't be able to get into it, because TikTok isn't going away. It's not going away. But I also know that I'm not going to be able to say this shit once they take over. Facebook bans, and here's how they do it. Someone was asking me, one of my new followers asked how I don't have a lot of followers, because people report my videos right after I post them. So it fucks up the engagement. And then by the time I appeal it, I've lost that first push out, into the algorithm. So that's how they do it. They make up shit, and because TikTok has an algorithm that is not people, they just automatically flag it and suppress it. And it doesn't matter when they put it back into the FYP, the damage is already done. But the bright side is I can still talk. I still have other platforms, and TikTok actually kind of gassed me up by how much whoever my haters on TikTok are, y'all are my biggest fans, and I want to thank you, because you actually have shown me how powerful my words are, that I'm running through your mind rent free, to the point that you have to report my videos. So I know that's not going to end anytime soon, especially with what we're going through. But I want to say thank you all. I'm excited for the next platform. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep asking questions. That's the biggest thing, asking questions. The question that I asked a lot of my Christian friends that kind of started blowing their minds is the story of Adam and Eve. Who told that story first? And why do we believe it? Why do we believe it's true? Well, God told them. How do you know? How do you know? Because we've all sat under the teaching of somebody who said they heard from God, but then we found out that they were actually some kind of criminal, like a cheater, a child. We find out that these people are thieves, that they are essayers, and they say, well, you know what? It's all under the blood. It's under the blood. I'm a new being, like, judge not lest ye be judged. So if we can continue to forgive these people who say that they are pastors for their transgressions, right? If we forgive them and say that it's okay, then how do we know that the first person to tell this story wasn't the same kind of person? Like, why do we trust it? Why do we trust that everyone that wrote the Bible was a good person? Because Trump says he's a Christian. And like 50 years from now, we don't know what his reputation is going to be like. So all I'm saying is question everything. Question everything. There's a reason why they use Christianity as a weapon, because it works. It's easily manipulated. But I refuse to believe that God signed off on slavery, because everyone says, oh, slavery was in the Bible, it's fine. So you mean to tell me you would worship a God that allows your people to be enslaved and says it's okay? You got to look at the original text and wonder, why would they include these stories? It's all to control. It's all a way of controlling people and getting people not to think for themselves. And again, I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm the person that is communicating with spirit. Yes, there can be people that come into alignment with me and I'm like, oh yeah, I actually agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. But I'm a threat because I actually did what Jesus said. If Jesus's words are true, I test everything against the spirit. And a lot of those tests, y'all are failing. So question everything, take care of yourselves, and don't ask Black women to come save you. I'm doing these videos for my damn self. Like, if people, I'm doing these videos as a way to make sense of the world around me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for myself. And if you learn something while I share, fantastic. All right, now I'm going to drink my tea because it is ready. Peace out, TikTok.